Yo, it's Brian. So, I haven't done one of these car things in a while. If you like the stream of consciousness kind of stuff that's a little bit less planned out, let me know by giving me a like, sharing it, or leaving a comment saying you want to hear more of this because, I'm really cognizant of how my ADHD runs and I can pretty much take a conversation anywhere. When I start stream of consciousness, I was scared that I'm going to lose somebody because my thoughts aren't as organized. But if you want more of this, where it's a little bit less planned, a little bit less, I don't do scripting, but I do outlining because that's how my mind works. A little less outlined, a little less pre-planned. Let me know if you want more off the cuff kind of stuff. And like this. If it connects with you, share it with somebody that can help. Leave a message, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Take it easy, y'all. On to the video. All right, so back again. Yeah, man. That was a big money phone call. So I'm probably in a different headspace than when I first started. The thing I wanted to say is, there's so much pressure on social media. A lot of the gurus and stuff, they will be pushing kind of this toxic positivity stuff where anxiety isn't real, imposter syndrome isn't real, ADHD isn't real, and it's all in your mind and it's mastery over your mind. And I'm here to say that the way I've approached it is these things are very real. And you have to learn how to live life so that those things don't prevent you from reaching who you really want to be. Because they're part of your personality, but they're not your entire personality. They're not who you are in the core of your person, and they don't really define where you're going to go. Okay? I see my anxiety. Yeah, I wish I didn't have it, but it also puts me in a place where I'm uncomfortable most of the time in most social situations. And that's been as long, from the time I could start feeling somebody's eyes on me or feeling like I'm being judged and stuff like that, and really being worried about if I'm going to screw up things. So I'm used to being uncomfortable. So when I'm faced with the uncomfortable situation, it's familiar, and I can act accordingly like I've been there before because I'm uncomfortable most of the time. My anxiety has conditioned me to be able to deal with being mentally and physically uncomfortable in a wide variety of situations. So no matter what I'm dropped into, I'm used to the feelings of heart racing, palm sweating, struggling to find your words, all that other stuff that goes along with anxiety. I'm used to it, man. And so it doesn't necessarily bother me or hinder me. I can perform what I need to perform in those environments. I'm used to my ADHD hijacking my brain and sprinting off with thoughts. And so I've learned how to bookmark thoughts in my brain. So if my ADHD kidnaps it and flees to the dark recesses of my mind with it, I can recall and kind of jump back to where I am or where I was in the conversation. So these things have allowed me, to function in situations that people who don't experience these feelings aren't. I do have a lot of anxiety, and so I'm able to sit down and have the conversation like, Brian, you're having a panic attack, and kind of sort through it and not try to run away from the feeling of it, but lean into it and understand that I'm going to survive. So, and the last one is imposter syndrome. I'm used to my inner critic yelling at me and telling me I'm worthless and I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm so used to that negative inner voice that I can reply back and say, you're full of shit. I'm going to do it anyway, just to prove you wrong. And whether I succeed or fail, I'm used to, at least I did it. I've encountered so many things that I failed at in my life that I'm not going to say I don't fear failure. I do. I have significant fear about failure, but I don't let the fear of failure stop me from doing the thing I need to do. I just say, well, I'm going to fail at it. If I go out there, the way I look at it is if I go out there and do this thing and fail at it, even if I fail at it, I picked up the lesson. And the lesson's more important sometimes than the success you have. Line Roy said sticks with me, where he said, it was on the first Prime album that he did with DJ Premier, where he said, genetically predisposed to be a mechanic unless I handle my failures way better than I ever handled success. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm used to something not working out the way I planned and optimizing it and say, well, at least I got this out of it. At least this positive thing happened out of it. And I have something to build off of. So it's not a new experience where it's going to break me. It may kneecap me for a little bit. I may struggle. When I lost my only major client from my agency 2 years ago, that was a very tough time for me. Didn't kill me, but I was in a bad place. But I learned how to, okay, well, this sucks. I'm going to mourn this and mourn the loss of what I thought this could turn into. And now it's time to move on and figure out what life looks like after this. Okay? And I started getting acclimated. Whereas acclimated is not the right word, but it's the one I'm going to use anyway. I started getting acclimated to the reality of running a marketing agency. Is that marketing agencies churn clients really quickly because a lot of people had what it takes to lock down their own marketing and be really proficient at it, they wouldn't need a marketing agency to come in and help out with it because it would be woven into the fabric of their business. And they would understand that it does take time. It's not going to be a big splash. It's not a money machine that you can just turn on. It's something that you build up over time. 1 lead becomes 2 leads. 2 leads become 4 leads. Sometimes 4 leads become 5 leads, but then 5 leads can turn into 12. And that's how it goes. There's no exact science to it. And so I understand that, but a lot of business owners aren't necessarily on that. When they pay for something or they pay for a service, they expect an immediate return on it. And that's not how marketing works. You don't just flip the switch. There's going to be some things out there that you can take, and they're not cheap solutions. I'm a more inexpensive solution than I probably should have been. But there's some out there that have mastered a system where they can generate outsized outcomes, big outcomes that are larger than the input. But those are very expensive, and those don't come around too often. More times than not, it takes time to build. So either you're going to put the money in or you're going to put the sweat equity in, but you're not going to escape with a cheap quick fix. It's just not going to work. So you have to get acclimated to the idea that it's not going to be easy. And a lot of business owners ain't in that place yet because they're sitting there looking at, okay, this money is coming out and I need to make sure that this money goes to the right thing, and I need to make sure that my money's well spent and all that other stuff, which is important. Marketing dollars have to be accounted for, but it's moving so fast that they don't take time to iterate. If something is not successful, but it's more successful than other things, or it's a little bit more, it's marginally more success than they've had in the past, a lot of business owners are conditioned to throw the baby out with the bathwater instead of just drilling down until, okay, I'm going to spend money, but my return is going to come back. I hope that makes sense. But I had to learn that the idea of a marketing agency is you don't really have long-term clients. If you're fortunate to have a client that lasts longer than a year, even if you're good, because a lot of times businesses aren't necessarily looking for marketing agencies. They're looking for somebody to post stuff on social media and just run ads occasionally. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. I had to get used to that and have to go, and the grieving process of feeling like I was a big failure when a client said, you're great, but I want to go in a different direction. And a lot of times those different directions, may or may not have worked. It may not have been a better situation, or it could have been a better situation. I don't know. But I had to go through my grieving process and not feel like it was an indictment on me and what I did. And as I've gotten better with that level of it and building up my calluses to rejection, it got a little bit better. And then when I realized that one of the holes in it and why I felt so anxious about my marketing business was the fact that I wasn't necessarily doing the stuff that I wanted to do. I wasn't delivering the service the way I wanted to deliver it. I wanted to consult and teach and not do everything for you. I wanted to teach you how to do your own the same way I learned it, which is trial and error, go out and do it, and then use the mistakes that I've made along the way to help you on your journey. That's what I wanted to do. And so it was necessary for me to go through that and to feel the grief and feel like a fraud or feel like an imposter, to understand that I wasn't aligned and I wasn't in the right place. And I needed to realign myself. So that's why I started the online community that I'm slowly growing and adding stuff to and recording things and growing at my own speed. It's been a blessing to have, a wife that holds me down and make sure that I'm doing all right. Make sure we're all doing all right. I take care of her, she takes care of me. And it's not this transactional level where, the 50-50 or the 60-40 kind of thinking. It's, what do you need? Let's make it happen. That's kind of where I'm at. And it's been a beautiful thing. But the point I'm getting back to is this. There's a lot of social media content out there that tries to tell you that the things that you experience in your mind are just in your mind. They're not real things. They're not things that you should pay attention to. And my experience tells me that you need to. You need to pay attention to these things that are going on inside your brain. And adjust to how your brain is. And then learn how to maneuver around your brain or utilize the things that it teaches you, like the fact that my anxiety conditioned me to be uncomfortable. And it conditioned me to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. My ADHD allowed me to understand how my focus works and lets me explore very grandiose topics and really flesh out and see the extent of an idea, but it's just rapid fire. And it allowed me to explore avenues and see opportunities where other people only saw barriers. Now, is it optimal for me and the way I function in my life? No, not really. But I've learned how to operate with it and not beat myself up for not being able to control where my mind goes all the time. And I think a lot of times people beat themselves up for not being 100% in mastery and control of their own mind. And shit, everything looks great on social media. Social media, you can do a lot of stuff, man. It could everything is great on social media. When you're posting stuff and you're just telling what you think other people should do or how you think they should move, shit, everything sounds great. You can sound like, this is how I conquered my brain and I ended up becoming a master of my own mental landscape. Sounds great. But I think a lot of people beat themselves up because they're not there. And sometimes The people that are telling you that aren't even there. So I'm saying all that to say this. The shit that goes on between your ears is real. It's real to you. And that's enough. The thing you got to learn how to do is how to live life around that, or incorporate it into your life to get to the places that you want to be. So just because it exists in your brain doesn't mean that you're acknowledging it as a barrier or a hindrance. You're just acknowledging it exists. Now, I woke up this morning, wasn't feeling that great. It wasn't anything physically wrong with me. It was just in a mental headspace that wasn't great for me. So I got up and I worked on the things that were nagging at me. And now I'm about to go in here and sit down with my business partner, and we're going to record content for an online class in my own, in our own facility, our own basketball training facility. Something that we dreamt about and we wanted, and we manifested it with no outside lending or anything else. We manifested it, and we're fighting for every penny to keep this until we move on to something bigger. Just got off the phone with somebody that's like, hey man, you got to think big. And I'm with it, because they talking about $1 million stuff. And I have to have that in my headspace while understanding that we're still fighting for every penny in here. But we made this happen. We did. We went out and made it happen. And everything that comes along with it, all the frustration and other stuff that comes along with owning your own business space and having your own training facility, yeah, it sucks sometimes. But it's better than not having it. And it's something that we made happen, regardless of how down I get about some of the shit around it. We made it happen. And we're going to make it happen even bigger. We're talking about doing something even bigger. And that was one of the conversations that I just had. So, my shit be working sometimes. That's what I'm saying. And so, your anxiety, your ADHD, your depression, your sadness, your loneliness, all that shit is real. It's real up here. But also your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations, that shit is real too. And you can make it real. You just need to learn how to navigate the other stuff that's trying to derail you. That's what I got. So I'm gonna sign off. I'm probably gonna do another message to put at the beginning of this one, kind of caveat what we're talking about. So, peace.